In this video, I'm going to show you my amazing Lightning Monk build and also spoil some secrets on how to get stronger early to mid-game, as I was once struggling too, and now I breeze through the content without any issues. I learned a lot from my 100 early game deaths, and so will you. If you want to play God of Thunder / Jedi, this build is right for you. First thing you need to know about Monk is he has a really rough early game, as most of our damaging skills come in later, but there is a skill that can smash everything with one hit, and it's AoE. As a monk, you should focus on evasion and energy shield with dexterity and intelligence. Always make sure you have enough to wear the best weapon and armor. During early game as a monk, you have access to a limited amount of skills. When we have a look here, you will see that the skills available to you are Falling Thunder, an AoE skill, Killing Palm, a supportive skill that will help us with charges, Glacial Cascade, which is an AoE frost skill that helps us with crowd control, and Frozen Locust, who is about damage. For this build, we will be focusing on Falling Thunder. However, don't forget that your skill, Quarterstaff, can do quite a lot of damage as well, as it's 200% of your attack. And if you infuse it with cold, you will be building a freeze charge, which will help you controlling the enemies. Our main damage will come from the Falling Thunder, and this boy can one-shot most enemies if we manage to get 3 power charges. Power charges can be obtained by using Killing Palm, and we can see a blue dot on enemies that can be cooled, or in other words, instantly killed. Each kill grants us 1 charge for a certain duration. When we are at 3 stacks, we can unleash Falling Thunder full potential. We should use Lightning Infusion Support Gem, as it increases our overall damage, but also Perpetual Charge, which gives us 35% chance of not consuming power charges, which then allows us to spam this skill until we fail and eventually consume the charges. This is a very powerful tool. However, we can't really use this against bosses, as we will not get too many power charges unless the boss spawn minions, but we will get another skill that will melt the bosses later in the game. With no much single target damage at the start, I will suggest picking up crowd control ability such as Glacial Cascade, which can freeze even the bosses. This will allow us to have easier time to do damage to them. If you choose this option, you should go for Cold Infusion here. Once you get your first level skill gem, you will get one of the most broken spells in the game, which is Tempest Bell. Tempest Bell requires 4 combo before we can put it on the ground, which means you will need to hit at least 4 times with your Quarterstaff. This might cause you a bit of problem, as it also makes you vulnerable to any big hits, so you need to place it in the right time. This is why we bring freeze to mix, so once you freeze the enemy, you put the bell and start hitting it to deal massive damage. This is going to be our main boss combo going forward. I run Tempest Bell with Magnified Effect to expand the area and place in against enemies in choke points, and Ruthless to build more stun. This basically sums up your early game skills, so let's have a look at early game passive tree. Remember, respecking costs gold, but not that much, so make sure you experiment and try new things. At the beginning, we are already tasked with a choice. We either go the top path or the bottom path. The top path is all about the damage, and the bottom one is about evasion and some mana regeneration. I'll highly suggest going with the top path, as it grants us skill, speed, attack damage, and then eventually we will get 5 dexterity, 5 intelligence, and 8% attack and cast speed. This is really helpful early in the game, as we will be using our Quarterstaff to deal most of the damage, and Quarterstaff is quite slow. Then we have a choice to make again. We either go defensive with Mindful Awareness, which grants us extra evasion rating and extra energy shield, and then go back to get Step Like Mist, which will increase our movement speed, which helps with dodging as well, but also grants us 15% mana regeneration and gives us extra 5 intelligence, and dexterity required to equip better equipment. But this is only if you feel like you're struggling to survive. When it comes to boss fights, you either avoid the mechanics and take barely any damage, or you take damage and die, and this will help you mitigate. So if you feel like you're bad with the mechanics or just learning, this might be a viable option for you. For the rest, since we will be using the lightning skills, we will go for extra increase to shock, and 5% of the damage is extra damage and 30% shock, which is the essence of the storm. This will help us early to do some elemental damage. And then we go for this here. We'll get increased speed and mana regeneration rate. So we want more speed to basically cast our Fallen Thunder faster because it's quite slow. I would suggest to avoid this crashing wave at the start because you will not be dealing much critical hits. You don't have much crit hit at the start of the game, and that's one mistake that I've done. I've went for it without really putting too much into crit rate, as we avoided even the crit damage nodes here. Now, there is a crit rate node here. You can get up to 20% of the basic. It's not that much, okay? So early game, if you go this path, you will boost your crit rate up by around maybe like 3-4%, which is not ideal. You will be still below 15% for crit because the base on the stuff is 10%. So what I would suggest, and that's what I've done, is go offensive, then choose the defensive, or go for more offense. So if you feel like, yeah, you're good with the mechanics, you can avoid the damage, then go here. Obviously, those nodes, pick whatever you need to get a better equipment and skills. And then we get to this tree here, where we will get 4% increased attack speed, 6% attack speed if we've been hit recently, and 10 strength. And also we will go for killer instincts, so when we are at full HP we will have a 30% increased attack damage, and if we're on low HP we will have a 50% increased damage. So that basically sums up your early game. This is what you will want through the Act 1, and this will get you going. Once you progress through campaign, you will start getting level 5 skill gems and spirit gems. When it comes to spirit gems, there are two choices: offensive, Herald of Thunder, and defensive, Ghost Dance. I believe the better choice is Herald of Thunder, as I started with Ghost Dance, but once I switched to Herald of Thunder, I noticed very high damage increase in the mid game. If you go with Herald of Thunder, I choose to use Innervate and Concentrated Effect as support gems to increase my overall damage output. But the biggest power boost comes from level 5 skill gem, which unlocks Tempest Flurry, our main damage ability going forward. This skill melts bosses, especially when paired with the Tempest Bell. We will generate combos very quickly, and we will support this skill with Martial Tempo, which increases attack speed by 25% and Lightning Infusion to do extra 25% lightning damage. Once you unlock Support Gem 2 and Jewelry Orb in Act 3, you want to add Close Combat, which will increase the damage by further 25%. Once you unlock level 7 skills, we will finally have access to range skill, Storm Wave, and another way to gain power charges, which is Siphoning Strike. Storm Wave is an amazing range skill that will help you to clear maps, and also if you put a rage support gem, it will increase your total damage. You can do it by pressing show all gems in the bottom left. Then we also add conduction to increase chance to shock enemies, and in Act 3 we will add shock siphon, which will generate additional energy shield for us after we kill a shocked enemy. Next skill is Siphoning Strike, which will consume shocked on the enemy and turn it into power charge. We will support it with Profusion to have a chance for an extra power charge, and later with Longshot for some extra damage. Few more levels, and we should finally become Jedi and unlock level 9 skills, where we can find charge stuff. Not only it looks amazing, it sends shockwaves and just melts everything in its way. This requires power charges, so we will stop using Fallen Thunder at this point, as our main AoE damage will come from Storm Wave. We will support this skill with Perpetual Charge, Persistence to increase the skill duration, and Electrocute to build electrocution to stop enemy action, providing us with some crowd control. Hopefully by that time, you get your spirit up to 60 so you can run another passive. You can use both Herald of Thunder and Ghost Dance, but if you struggle with Siphoning Strike and Killing Palm generating your power charges, you might consider Lingering Illusion that will recharge power charge when enemies kill your clone after you dodge. At this stage, you should have at least Ascension 2. Eventually, it's not easy, but it's doable. So if you do, then there's two ways you can play this. You can go defensive with going for more evasion rating and energy, as well as gaining spirit for 6 energy and evasion rating on your body armor, which will then become one of your most important pieces, but you cannot gain spirit from any other equipment. Or go for the I Am the Thunder, which will grant you an extra 10% of damage as lightning and 25% chance on shocking enemies to create a shocked ground. So that's what I went for, as I'm not struggling when it comes with survival. Now, your next focus will be going here and getting the jewel, one of the jewels that will have, you can put whatever you want, but obviously looking for attack speed and some useful stats. And then go to this lower tree here when we will gain some more lightning damage notes, as well as damage penetrates lightning resistance and overall critical hit chance against enemies with lightning exposure and 15% more lightning damage. As you can see, we're starting to build crit rate. Then you go down and you will get to this quarterstaff nodes. In here, we want to go to the bottom and gain the accuracy, critical damage bonus, and dexterity, then crit hit chance, and the one with the storm where quarterstaff skills that consume power charges, which is our charge staff, will count as consuming an additional power charge. And then we will grab Whirlwind Assault, which will increase attack speed with quarterstaffs and also grants us a knockback that will happen when we get a critical hit. I will skip the rest here, and what we can do next is either start stacking crit rate or go defensive. So if you want extra evasion rating, you'll go here and you will grab that. Also, it will help you with the energy shield recharge when you've become stunned. At the end of Act 3, we will be meeting these monsters that will have a chance to stun us. If you're missing some raw stats, as you can see I was, you can go this path and get another jewel in. But if you want more crit, you'll come back to this tree here. You'll grab these notes that will grant us crit damage, crit chance, and 20% crit chance here as well. And then go back here to grab this. When we hit a critical hit, we will do an extra 36% damage. You can also come back and grab those two, but it's better if we focus and get some more crit rate. So those two will be eventually removed and put in here. And that's pretty much where I am at the moment with my level 47 Invoker. Now, obviously, I don't know if this is the best build, but this build works for me and I'm melting through campaign, no issues, just smashing the monsters with my AoE, Stormwave, and bosses with the Belt and Tempest Flurry, and all other skills are supporting here. I also got few very important tips for you. Make sure you gamble your weapon. Weapon is the most important item early on for the monks, and you want to have a weapon with as much physical damage as possible. You want to get some mana regeneration there as well, probably some mana leech, but get gambling and you can get some massive power boost. If you feel like you're not doing damage, that means you need a better weapon. Every time you level up, go to the town and look at vendors. Every time you level up, vendors will have a different stock, and this can get you some amazing items as well. And once again, gold will be your main priority, so make sure you don't waste it. When you get to a certain point when you have quite enough disenchanted items and you have a lot of the orbs of augmentation and orbs of transmutation, start selling blue equipment to gather that gold. Don't be afraid to experiment. There's so many things that have not been discovered yet, so make sure you do that. Use different skills, play with your passive tree, and also the most important thing when it comes to the gems, if you go to support gems, make sure you press all gems and go through them. Some of them are amazing. This is how I found that I can use a rage on a monk to increase my total damage, and I use it on my storm wave. As you can see, when you press on the skill, it only shows you 3 available skills, but it's not true. Just press on that and look for something that will support your skill, and you can see AoE, melee, lightning. Support gems for this will work on it, and you can use different combinations. This game has so much potential. You can build the heroes the way you want. That's it for today. Let me know in the comment section if you find this guide useful, if you think this build is fun, and if you think there's few things that I could improve. Let me know, and I will see you in the next video where we'll cover the end game build once I get to it.